Dr. Sean J. Harris here, Generational Wealth Academy. Happy Monday morning, Saturday, number 2. And what I want to talk to you guys about today is the 10 behaviors of creating wealth. So think about it. Many times people think that it's based on intelligence as far as the amount of wealth that you can create. But in fact, your behaviors determine creating wealth more so than your intelligence. So I remember hearing, you guys hear me talk about this quite often, that one of my mentors, Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, often says that many times A students teach B students who work for C students, and the D students, well, they name buildings after them. So it's more so about the behavior, the movements, the mentality of a wealth creator more so than their intelligence. So does it take some intelligence to build wealth? Absolutely. So what I want to do is I want to go over 10 different behaviors that can help you move the needle as far as creating wealth. The first one is having consistent savings. So I highly recommend if you have something to write with, take down notes, because this is going to be amazing information I'm going to give you. So the first one is consistent saving. But here's the deal. With saving, we don't save just to put money under the mattress. We don't save just to put money in the shoebox and put it on the closet shelf. The purpose of saving is to be able to plant seeds. So when you have this extra money, the goal, let me explain the 3 money rules. First, you got to be able to create income. Secondly, you got to be able to hold on to it, save. And the third thing is you have to be able to grow the income. That's where we're planting seeds and expecting the growth. So again, if we plant apple seeds, we're going to get apple trees. If we plant orange seeds, we're going to get oranges. So it's the same thing here. When you plant your money seeds, it will grow in like kind. But here's the deal. When you grow a seed, it grows and gives back in more multitude than in which you plant it. So think of an apple for an example. One apple seed will grow an apple tree. The apple tree will then bear multiple hundreds of thousands of apples. But in each apple, there's 2 to 3 seeds in each apple. So again, how many trees are now in those 3 or 4 seeds in each apple? So you have what's called exponential growth. So that's the first behavior, is you got to be able to consistently save your seed money and to be able to grow it. Second thing is smart budgeting. We got to be able to budget smartly. And this means that you have to be able to track your buying. So many times people say, well, listen, Sean, I make $90,000 a year. I make $120,000 a year. I make $30,000 a year. Whatever that amount is, they usually tell me the same thing. I don't know where my money is going. I can't account for X amount of money that I made over the last week, month, or years. So what you do here is you have to be smart with your budgeting. You have to be able to track your expenses, track where your money is going. One of the exercises I give my clients is I say, write down and track every single penny that you spent today. And let's do that every day for this entire week. And then they'll find the leak in the boat where a lot of that money is going. Well, when I go in and get my coffee in the morning, I tend to pick up a snack bar, or I tend to pick up a bag of chips too. See, all that stuff adds up. I gave an example a couple weeks ago. Katie and I, we were at a Walmart, and the pickup aisle was completely empty, but the parking lot was completely full of cars. And I was explaining to Katie, and I said, listen, when they come and pick up the pre-ordered order, it's already been budgeted. But instead, people go into the store, which they start picking up additional items that they didn't anticipate, which weren't on their list. I gave the same example a couple of years ago to Kennedy. We went to a gas station, and I said, Kennedy, look around the gas pumps and notice that a lot of the cars are empty because people are going inside to pay for their gas as opposed to just swiping a card. You swipe the card, you get the gas, you're out of there. But when you go in and you pay for your gas cash, let's say that you put $40 at the cash register, but your car only took $35. So you had to go back in for a second trip. So the first trip, you looked around and you saw a candy, you saw a soda, you saw coffee, you saw all kind of goodies. You made a purchase that you weren't anticipating purchasing. But then you went out and pumped the gas, realized that all the gas didn't fit in your vehicle. So you had to go back to get the change. And then this gave you a second propensity to make a second purchase. You may get a lottery ticket this time. So in that particular point, you've now spent money or had two opportunities to spend money that you weren't going to spend otherwise if you had just paid at the pump. So again, that's where a lot of people's money seeps out of the boat. How you doing, Miss Nichols? So that's one of the things that we got to focus on. Where is that money going? Am I just spending money without due regard? The third thing is debt management. So again, if you're taking notes, write down number 3, debt management. You got to be able to understand the difference between good and bad debt. Many times we've always been conditioned to think that debt is a bad thing. Just growing up, you don't want to be in debt. You want to rip up your credit cards. You want to do all these things not to get in debt. But good debt is a great thing, because one of the massive wealth builders that you will have is real estate. Real estate is good debt when structured properly. So again, we got to understand the difference between what's considered good debt and bad debt. You got to know how to leverage your credit cards. You got to know how to pay off credit cards in a proper way. See, you have what's called a statement date and you have a billing date. You got to know how to leverage both of those two to know when and how to make payments. All my clients are instructed to make 2 payments a month on your credit card. Here's why. When you just make 1 payment on the credit card, at the end of the year, you've made 12 credit card payments. But when you do it twice, you have 24. This helps your ratio, and it also gives you better opportunities to increase your credit rating whenever you want to. I always tell my clients, go in and increase your credit limit every 6 months. But if you only have 1 payment per month, it's a little tricky sometimes, depending on your credit score and a lot of other different variables. So that's one of the key things you want to do, is to make sure that you're managing your debt properly. Don't get into a situation where you are having more month at the end of the month in money. So position that properly. Number 4 is investing wisely. Now, when it comes to investing, most people just think money only, but you have to invest your time wisely. You guys hear me talk about the 3 changes that made all the difference in my life and my family's life. The first change was I changed what I read. Look around me. I got books everywhere. I got over 1,500 books just in this office. Books off cameras, books down below, down there, books behind me, books over here, and another bookshelf. So what I read changed. Who I associated with also changed. And most importantly, how I use my time changed. So you have to invest in time wisely. So if you were to call me and say, hey, listen, we have a party this weekend. Are you coming? Well, I'll ask, who's going to be there? Well, you know, Pookie and Ray Ray and all the crew from back in the days, chances are I'm not going to come. But if you tell me that execs going to be there, a couple of CEOs going to be there, a couple of politicians going to be there, that's a higher and better use of my time. So more than likely, I will probably be there. So my litmus test in determining what I'm going to do or where I'm going to be is based on, is it going to increase my network or my net worth? If it's not going to do either one of those two, more than likely, I'm probably not going to expend that time or invest that time in that area or that activity. So that's why it's important to understand that you have to make proper investments. And when I say invest wisely, invest long term. Warren Buffett once said that if you're not willing to let money stay parked somewhere for 10 years, don't even waste 10 minutes thinking about that investment. So many times people have the microwave mentality where they think that, well, I'm going to start investing now and I expect to reap a harvest in 6 months or in a year. Listen, man, there's some things we invested in so long ago and they pay off handsomely every day. Every month we get dividend payments. That's a whole nother thing I can talk to you about, what's called a drip. Focus on drips when you're looking at investing. So invest wisely. Number 5 is continual learning or continuous learning. You got to always be in the mode of learning. Let me give you an example. Many of you guys know Katie, my 13-year-old son, just graduated from high school at 13. And the biggest question everybody asks is what's next? Are you going to college? Listen. College is good for people that college is good for. But people automatically assume that college will automatically ensure success, and its failure to go to college will ensure that you won't succeed. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. Ray Kroc, from the founder of McDonald's, mentioned that in paraphrasing, pretty much said, listen, going to college doesn't guarantee success, neither does its absence ensure failure. But so many people just are conditioned to think that that's the next thing that you automatically have to do. But here's the deal. Whether Caden decides to go to college or not is up to him. But here's the deal. If he doesn't go, he's still continuously learning. You got to understand the education of a 13-year-old who started their business at 7. What type of education do you think he already has in real world life experiences by running his own company at age 7? He graduated at 13. So there's a lot of learning that he continuously has that's far beyond the classroom, and there will be continuous learning that he will continue to learn. As you see, I got books all around. He has a unlimited library at his disposal. So that's going to be important. Here's the deal too with continuous learning. Put yourself in a position where you can learn. Get around people who can stretch you. Think about a rubber band. When you stretch a rubber band, it's stretched. When you let it go, it goes back, but it never goes back to its original dimension. So once something is stretched, it is forever stretched and can continue growing. It's like when we go to the gym to work out. You're actually tearing down muscles. You're stretching the muscles, then they tear, and then they regrow bigger and stronger than before. So that's the same mentality you have to take when you're learning. So going to different conferences, reading books, and you want to get to the point to where you have so much information coming in you that it pours out in abundance and you can teach others. That's how you continue to grow. See, a lot of times people think they're the big fish. Yeah, I'm a big fish in my small ponds, but I'm a little guppy when I swim to bigger lakes, bigger oceans, bigger seas, where my leadership, my mentorship, my coaching, my mentors reside. So it's okay to be the big fish in a small pond. Now I call that my feeder pond. I get the information from the ocean, from the big shark and the big whales, and I disseminate it back to my fish, to my guppies. But you always got to position yourself to be a little guppy in somebody else's pond in order to grow. Number 6, goal setting. A lot of people say they set goals, but listen, if you don't write down your goals, it's all for naught. You have to continuously look at that goal. Think about people who have vision boards and dream boards, things like that. The reason you have that why is because you're continuously seeing what the goal is on a consistent basis. So the same thing with your goals, you have to write them down and you have to have those goals reviewed by a mentor, by a coach, because a lot of times we can be off track. Think about sports. That's why a football team has a coaching staff. You have an offensive coach, you have a defensive coach, you have special teams coach. In baseball, you have the manager, which is the main coach. You have a pitching coach, you have a third base coach, you have a first base coach. There's coaching there for a reason. And sometimes you have to give your goals to them to see if you're on track. Listen, the goals you set last month may need to be revised now because you have different growth in your business. You may have to accelerate those goals. So that is why goal setting is important. Number 7, live below your means. Now, a lot of people hear this, and I don't want you to get confused because a lot of people, the first thing they think is, well, I got to start living cheap. No, I didn't say that. Never live cheap. Live and get the things in life that you want. Just figure out how to make more money to sustain it. That's the secret. It's not about when people say live below your means. That doesn't mean that your means have to be cheap or cheapened. Have the things that you want. If expensive things are important to you, get them. Just figure out a way how to afford them. That's the key. So don't minimize and say, hey, look, we're going to eat bologna and Spam. Listen, I like steak. I like a good A5 tomahawk steak. That's $150 steak. Just figure out how to fund it. Okay. So those are the things where we talk about living below your means. Now, again, my family, I'm not a name brand person. As you see, I rock my own brand. C Student CEO or Generational Wealth Academy, K-Lock Health, Caden Teaches. We rock our own brands. So we don't invest in name brand stuff, clothing. So it's easy for us to live well within our means. So that's what I'm getting at. So don't live cheap. Just figure out how to make more money. Number 8, I hope you're writing these down, is an emergency fund. You got to be able to have an emergency fund. My personal recommendation is to have 6 to 12 months of living expenses saved away. and continuously still save a little bit here and there. Caden, when he teaches, he talks about that. He saves he pays himself 10%, 40% goes back into savings, and then 50% goes back into his business. So it's different models that's going to work best for you that you have to determine how you're going to create that emergency fund. Because listen, we all have to think about this. Why is the emergency fund important? Most of us have a spare tire in our vehicle. The reason why is in case of a blowout, just in case of an emergency. Well, we have to ask ourselves this question. What do I do in the event of a financial blowout? In the event of a financial emergency? Do you have a spare income? Furthermore, you have to ask yourself this. What happens if the X-out factor visits your home? What's the X-out factor, Dr. Harris? The X-out factor is what happens if you're X'd out of the equation. What just happened to your family financially? Particularly if you're the breadwinner. That's something to think about. You have to be able to have an emergency contingency in place. Life insurance policies are a must. These are things that you have to really think about. Number 9, as we're closing out, is networking. Networking and mentorship. You got to position yourself to be in the right places. You remember I just told you what my litmus test was to determine whether I'm going to spend my time in that particular activity. Is you have to ask yourself, is it going to increase my network or my net worth? And networking allows you to do that. Listen, if you don't have everything in life that you want to, it's just because you haven't shaken enough hands. Shaking hands is the key, the fundamental tool that you can use to meet anybody that you need. In my telephone, I have multiple millionaires. I have billionaires' phone numbers in my phone. And it's important because I use those friendships. I leverage those friendships first to build the relationship. Once you've built a relationship, business ships will come easily. But so many times people focus on, I got to do business. Listen, slow down. Go out and have a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. Have some lunch. Get to meet people. Get to know them. And then you'll see that so many different opportunities will open up for you. So position yourself to build relationships that's going to be meaningful and help you to build a business. Number 10, last one, mindful spending. You got to be mindful of how you're spending. Like I said, you don't want to be in a position where you have more month than money. You want to be in a position where you've spent based on your needs versus your wants. So you don't want to be in a position where, I bought these shoes, I bought this, but geez, I need milk, I need eggs, I need the sustainable items of life. So again, it's perfectly fine. If you have a shoe fetish, if you have myself, I'm here, you see my watches. I'm a big collector of timepieces. I like neckwear. These are two things I really like. I really enjoy fragrances. I will spend big money on either one of those 3 things because that's what I like. But what I do is I just position myself to make more money to fund those wants, because they're not needs, they're just wants. But position yourself that you can do that. So let's recap real quick. For those of you taking notes, this is going to benefit you tremendously. First is consistent savings. 2, smart budgeting. 3, debt management. 4, investing wisely. 5, continual learning. 6, goal setting. 7, live below your means. And let's change that. Let's not say below your means. Let's say within your means. 8, emergency fund. 9, networking and mentorship. And 10, mindful spending. These are the behaviors of creating wealth. So again, remember, wealth creation and wealth building is not based on your intelligence, because I know a lot of A students. I know a lot of B students, cum laude, and even thank you laudes, that they graduated, but still not hitting it financially the way they want to. So again, it's our behaviors, okay? Working out. I mean, you guys know I used to compete in bodybuilding. I can know all of the information about nutrition. I can know all the information about working out, recovery, reestablishing and building muscles. But it's not until I do the behavior of first going to the gym, then applying myself to do the exercises, using the equipment, lifting the weights, pressing, squatting, things of that nature. That is what grows me. It's not what I know about the gym. It's the actual application or the behavior of lifting weights. All right, guys, I hope that made a major impact and really helped and blessed you on this second Saturday of the week. I'm Dr. Sean J. Harris. Make impact and make money while you're doing it.